Hey guys, so it's been a while since I bought a new tool, but I've got some baseboard that I need to attach here in the garage so I can finish this area. And to do that, I need a brad nail gun. So I went to Home Depot and picked up an 18-volt Ryobi brad nailer, and I'm gonna unbox it today, and we'll do a quick review as well and show you the gun in action by attaching that baseboard. Okay, so let's open it up. Instructions, nails, clip, and brad nail gun. It's actually bigger than I expected it to be. Okay, so I actually still have an older Ryobi brad nailer. This is actually a stapler and brad nailer combo, and as you can tell, because it's blue, it's quite a bit older, because I'm pretty sure Ryobi switched to green over a decade ago. So I don't know if back in the day when they were selling this one, if they had a dedicated brad nailer, but this works fairly well for the years that I've had it. One of the biggest differences right off the bat, not only in the size you can see here, is that this one only fired between 3/4 inch and 1.25 inch nails. And this one starts at 5/8 of an inch and goes up to 2 inches. So quite a bit difference in the selection of nails that you can shoot from the new one. And this was probably mostly limited by the fact that it was also a staple gun. One of the few things I am surprised about is that when I bought my new staple gun a couple months back, it was quite a bit smaller from this one. And so I was actually expecting this dedicated brad nailer to be a bit smaller, or at least similar size, and instead it is quite a bit bigger. I don't know if you can really see here. But other than that, I'm really impressed with what I see as far as the features and stuff that this one has, because this one was very limited. It didn't really have much to go for it. And another big thing is I never really liked the weight of this one. It was always kind of front heavy in my opinion. And picking this one up, I've noticed I feel like it's a lot better balanced. It is still fairly heavy. You know, it is a fairly large tool, but it's heavier in the back, so it fits and feels better in your hand, rather than this one, which always felt like it was dragging down my hand and like kind of twisting downwards on my wrist. So enough about the old one. Let's go ahead and get into all the features on this one, and to do that, we're gonna bring the camera in so you can see everything. Okay, so I'm gonna start here at the grip, and first off we have the trigger. That's pretty straightforward. And then underneath the trigger, you'll see that there's a tiny little like secondary trigger right there. And at first I thought that was a safety, but it's actually the LED switch to turn on the lights on the front. So if I press it, it turns the lights on. And you'll notice that they are still on even though I'm not pressing it. It seems to have some sort of timer mode on it. Looking in the instructions, I couldn't find how long that lasts for, and now they're off. And then down here we have the mode selector. So you have single, which you'll see, you probably can't see it right now, but it'll show just one nail. And then for continuous actuation, you've got 3 nails, you can select that. It's shown on here. So on single, you would depress the actuator against whatever your work surface is, and then squeeze the trigger and it would fire a single nail. If on your continuous, then I would squeeze down the trigger, and every time I would touch the surface, it's gonna fire a nail. And then we also have the ability to mount the belt clip here on the left or on the right hand side, so whichever your preference is. Moving to the back, we have the pressure gauge for the air gauge. So you turn this and you can increase or decrease pressure. So that's just one of the abilities for increasing the nail drive depth. You do have another one we'll talk about in a second. All right, moving on to the front. This is pretty self-explanatory, but you have your magazine release. If you want to load your brad nails, these different grooves are to match the different size nail that you're putting in. And again, you got 5/8 of an inch up to 2 inches total. And then this is what they call a no-mar pad, and it's if you're working with a softer piece of wood, this will protect the wood from being scraped or damaged in the process. If you don't want it on there, you can take it off. It just kind of pulls off from the front. It's a little bit stiff though, so I'm just gonna leave it on for now. You have an extra one over here on the side, and you can also use this little piece here to store it. but because I've got the two right here, I don't have anywhere I can store this one, so I'm just gonna leave that one in place. If the gun were to jam on you, you can undo this latch here on top, flip it back, and you have access to the top here. And you can see it goes all the way through, so you can drop that jam nail and get it out of the way, and then reload and continue on. And then over here, we have the other adjustment dial. So this is for if your back dial isn't doing it and you still need more power or less power, depending on what surface you're working with. You can turn this. Right now, it is set to its strongest setting, but as I back it off here, you'll see that more of the screw is exposed, and so it moves to the back of the gun. And when I move it clockwise and it heads towards the front of the gun, that's stronger. All right, a few last little features that this tool also has is it does have a dry fire feature, which will prevent the tool from firing if it detects that there's between 0 to 5 nails left in the gun. So if for some reason you were using it and it were to suddenly stop and you knew you'd use quite a bit of nails, then the best thing you need to do is just open up the magazine, check how many nails you have remaining, because as that protective feature for the gun itself, it's just gonna stop firing once it gets down to essentially less than 5 nails. And then there's also the LED lights are used as a diagnostic tool. So they will flash differently depending on what issue the tool is having, to include overheating. So this gun can fire up to 60 shots per minute. And if you were to be working on, say, a really hot day where you're using the tool a lot, especially say in a continuous actuation mode where you're just rapidly firing those nails in and it starts to overheat, then the lights will start to flash and the tool is not going to work. And if you see those two indicators, most likely the gun is overheated, so you just need to let it cool down. And then as well, this gun can hold up to 105 nails. So if you want to know about magazine capacity, that is its max load. Okay, now that we're done covering all of the features of the tool, let's go ahead and get into the testing part. So I got that baseboard in the closet, so I'm going to go ahead and load up here. It came with a small pack of 1¼ inch nails. So I'm going to drop these in here. Got a battery already on hand. And let's go test this thing out. Okay, I've got it set for sequential mode to start with, and I have it on what I believe is about half power. So we'll see how far it drives it, and if I need to turn it up or turn it down, I will. And it's sending it all the way in. Looks like I can turn it down a little bit, might be overdriving it. I need to turn it down a bit more. All right, let's go to continuous actuation. Pretty cool. Okay, I've turned it down a bit more, so hopefully I won't continue overdriving these a little bit. And I'm seeing it a bit better now. I think if I turn it down just a tiny bit more, might be able to get to the point where it sticks out just a little bit, just to see. We'll fire 2 more nails here. Nope, still pretty good. There we go. All right, it's fully attached. Now I turned it down quite a bit from where I started at. I started about half power, and as of right now, oh actually never mind, I'm fully down on the air pressure gauge. I could probably go a little bit more for right here, but not by much. So considering how much I've turned it down and it's still driving them fully flush, this is very powerful because my old one was nowhere near as strong as this. If you turned it down this much, I wouldn't be driving these anywhere near close to flush. Okay, so overall, I am really happy with this purchase. Again, I still have this one and it works, and it's not a dedicated brad nailer, but the features that this one has compared to this one are a lot more useful. I mean, this one basically had nothing except for the ability to take brad nails, staples, and then your single air pressure adjustment. And then another thing I found while working with this one is that because it doesn't have a no-mar pad on the front, anytime you're working with the softer wood, especially like quarter round, it would typically end up marking up that quarter round. So you would depress it and it would just leave marks and scratches on that area, which was just more work as far as touch-up goes. So I'm really happy with the way this one came out. It didn't have any issues. There was no additional scratches or damages to the baseboard except for that area where the nail went into. So I'm really happy about that. I have 2 different air compressed versions of a nail gun, but since they're limited to the air compressor, it's just difficult to get those into certain areas. Like I don't want to have to haul the air compressor upstairs to work on baseboard and trim on the ceiling up there. And then one last thing, again, the balance of this one is way better than the old one. Even though this is bigger and heavier, it's just better balanced in the hand. And one of the big things I noticed while working this one over the years is that when I did a lot of work on doing ceiling trim, on doing the crown molding, this would get very taxing and your wrist would start to hurt basically by the end of it. Whereas I feel like I'm not going to have that issue with this one just because it's more balanced towards the back of the gun, so it's better balanced into the weight of your hand, the palm of your hand, rather than up front where you're kind of being dragged down by it. Okay, I hope you found this video useful and informative. I should mention that if you are looking at picking up one of these Ryobi brad nailers, that they do have 2 different versions. They have the standard version, what I have here, and they also have a brushless version, which of course that motor is a bit more powerful and should provide more longevity. It is about $40 more expensive, so if you're not going to be using it all the time, it would be kind of hard to justify the extra expense. For what I'm doing, I think this is fine, but if you were maybe a professional or for some reason we're doing a lot of trim work, then maybe you could justify spending more money for the brushless. But if you like this video, then give me a thumbs up, click the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time on the DIY Grunt.